Look at this beautiful area. We've got Three Finger Jack behind us, and coming across here we have the beautiful square lake, and that is Mount Washington, partially obscured by some wildfire smoke, but nevertheless quite beautiful. My gosh. As we continue to hike along this epic trail, this is Three Finger Jack Loop, Pacific Crest Trail, Old Summit Trail, Central Oregon, Southeast Quadrant, and I'm going between Booth Lake and Square Lake. You can see a pretty epic burnout. Even have a Round Lake over there, and I think Square Lake is definitely the winner out of those two. I'm descending this rocky section of the trail. So today is August 12th, 2022. Started at the PCT Santiam Pass. No Recreation.gov permit required. You just have to issue yourself a self-issue permit at the trailhead, but it's free. And then hiked down to Square Lake, up to Booth Lake, circumnavigated Booth Lake just for fun. That's a bit of a trek because there's no trail around it. It was bushwhacking obstacle course style, but I wanted to do that. And then got back to the trail, kept going beyond Booth Lake another mile or two until we got to the brushery section, the dreaded brushery section, probably the least popular section of this 24-mile super loop, and use that as my turnaround point. And I'm coming back. I'm descending back down to our trusty friend Square Lake, views of Mount Washington. There's a very popular backpacking trail. I already saw one group of like 4 and another group of 4 clearly backpacking for the weekend and for some epic adventures. I personally prefer to day hike it, although it's an incredible 24-mile super loop backpacking trip. If I was an outer stater, I would definitely backpack it, but since it's only an hour 20 from my house, I choose to break it up into 3 day hikes and kind of cherry pick the best sections, and that way I can go home and sleep in my nice warm cozy bed. I like backpacking, but I only do it if I have to, because I do prefer day hiking over having to carry a pack. So if I'm going out of state, or if it's one of those where the money section is really far away from the trailhead and you got to set up a base camp to really access it, I'll backpack for those and I'll enjoy it. But because of the pain involved in backpacking, carrying a heavy pack, I only do it when I absolutely have to. Since I don't have to, because I live in this area, I just created 3 high-quality day hikes that capture the highlights of this 24-mile super loop. So that's what I do. I'll go through the loops in case you're curious. You can go to the Northeast Quadrant Jack Lake Trailhead. That's the only one that does require a Recreation.gov permit for a day hike. And you get to do Canyon Creek Meadows. You can go up and climb up and see the Turquoise Cirque and the folds of near the peak of Three Finger Jack. And then you can go up to Wasco Lake, which I think is the best lake of the whole area. Check out the backcountry camping on the northern shores of Wasco Lake. Go up Minto Pass above overlooking Wasco Lake. That's a cool money section. Keep going as far as you decide to and then turn around. Or if you want to, you can go north up to Rockpile Mountain area. So that's kind of the northern side. That's definitely premium. And then the south side, where I did today, where you park at Santiam Pass Pacific Crest Trail, basically have 2 options. You can go west or east. If you do the one I'm doing now, this is east. This is the Santiam Pass trailhead to Square Lake to Booth Lake. This is definitely, I see, the 3rd best hike in this area, keeping it real. I think it's beautiful. I think it's worth doing, but it's the 3rd best. It's the least epic of the 3 that I think are worth doing. But I had never done this one before on video, so that's one of the reasons why I did it. If you go from the south approach, the west side, that's the other truly money one. That's kind of the heart of the Three-Fingered Jack experience. You go by what's called the Climbers Trail. That's the area that people are actually scaling the face of the summit. That's where they access it. You go by that, you go through a section that is like the base of the mountain, and it's gorgeous. It's huge and gorgeous, epic. Some truly special backcountry camping sites along that. And you keep going down a ridge line and come around a corner, and you eventually get to a lookout zone that is definitely one of the best in the whole loop, maybe the best. You're basically looking right across at the summit. You're at elevation, and you have like this wide open expanse, and you just look, you feel like you can reach out and touch the summit. You're right next to it. It's quite beautiful. So that's a 14 miler, 2,200 foot elevation gain. That's a great one. So I'd say the Northeast Canyon Creek Meadows Wasco Lake one is epic, and the south one, where we explore the west side, That's epic. Like those are tier 1 hikes, truly special. And then, look at that, I got Square Lake and Mount Washington. Then this hike, the east side, where you do Square Lake and Booth Lake, this is definitely ranked 3rd in the Three Finger Jack area. It's worth doing. I wouldn't consider it a tier 1 like the other two. I'd probably consider it a tier 2. Tier 1 to me is like bucket list. If you go through the area, if you know the area, you have to do it once in your life type deal. Like it's special. Tier 2 is like just a high quality hike that's definitely worth doing, very well above average. So this one's a tier 2. The other two are tier 1s. But those are the 3-day hikes that I personally have designated. Other people might design it differently when you're looking at a map, but I've done the whole area multiple times, and I think that's the best way to bifurcate it. So those are the 3 hikes that I would recommend doing. I'd recommend doing all 3 at least once. I think they're all 3 worth doing. So I come do these day hikes and then drive home and sleep in my warm, cozy bed rather than just doing a 24-mile backpack. A lot of people will backpack this in 2 nights, seems to be the average. Some of the more aggressive people will just do a 1-nighter. And then some of the really slow people might do a 3-nighter, but that's a little, I think I could do 1 night. If I was gonna come, I'd probably do a 1-nighter. Just because I do get bored. Like I enjoy hiking, but I like to stay active. So I'm not very good, is keeping it real. Probably my biggest weakness in backpacking is I'm not one of these people. There's some people that you can just go like find a meadow and camp, just like lay around for 2 or 3 days. I'm too much of a type A personality. I get bored. I need to do something. So for me, doing something is hiking. I like to be active. So I can't just kind of hang out at a campsite for days with nothing to do and no plan. That kind of turns from fun to torturous for me. I'm not that kind of a easy personality type, I guess. So at least I know myself and I know my strengths and weaknesses, my limits. So if I was gonna backpack this, I'd probably do a 1-nighter, 2-day, 1 night. Like I'd probably hike 12 miles. Like I'd start early in the morning, hike 12 miles, camp, and then hike back to the trailhead the next day. I'd probably start at the south Santiam Pass and I'd go west and I would hike all the way to Wasco Lake in the northeast, so basically halfway-ish, and then I would camp, and then I would keep coming south by Booth Lake and Square Lake, the area I'm in now, and get back to the trailhead the next day and drive away. I'd probably do a 1-nighter if I was backpacking this, but it's pretty common for people to do 2. They'll do a night at Booth. They'll do like start Friday and do Friday, Saturday night, come back Sunday, so 2-night, 3-day, kind of do it more casually. So a lot of times they'll stay at the southeast quadrant, which is either Square Lake or Booth Lake. They'll stay up at Wasco Lake. And they'll also sometimes stay on the west side. Some pretty epic spots there. The thing about backpacking is you gotta be flexible because you never know what's gonna be. It's not like you can go online and book it. You gotta go with the flow. You factor that into your hydration management, temperature management, your energy management, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're dying and you want to stop and you get to the next site and it's already taken and then you're like, I got to go another 2 miles. Let's go to that next section. Oh shoot, it's taken. I got another mile. Get yourself in a miserable state pretty quickly having to get through that situation. So try to give yourself huge leeway. Give my recommendation. So yeah, super popular backpacking loop. Highly recommend it. Top 2 in Oregon along with Broken Top. And 2 top tier 1 day hikes and a tier 2 day hike in the area is how I like to organize it. Three Finger Jack Loop. Also, I think it's worth noting and interesting that because of the elevation, this is mostly alpine, that this area is only accessible like 8 to 10 weeks of the year, like from August 1st to maybe October 15th, we'll say, ballpark, give or take. So about 10 weeks. So kind of crazy if you think about it. You got like a 10-week window, 8 to 10 week window to even come up here. The other rest of the year, it's just snowed in and you can't get up here. So that's why it gets so popular once this window hits, because everybody wants to come up, enjoy the beauty of Square Lake.